Our next guest is the son of one of the most admired artists in Latin America. His father is 82-year-old Colombian painter and sculptor Fernando Botero. He gained fame for his signature style of creating exaggerated figures of people and animals. Much of his art focused on politics and even the Colombian drug war. Juan Carlos Botero wrote about his father in a biography called The Art of Fernando Botero. We had a chance to talk and sit down with the author and discuss his intimate and unique perspective. Juan Carlos, how would you describe your father as an artist? What is it about his work that has made him so well respected in Latin America?
Well, I think he's a figurative artist, first of all. But I think what makes his work special and separates it from everybody else is it's his style. He has a very unique, original, and instantly recognizable style. A style that glorifies, exalts volume and form, and that some people consider that to be fatness or obesity, but actually what it is an exaltation of form and volume, and that, I think, is what makes his work so unique, so special.
Your biography on your father revisits his early years. What were some of the influences that helped shape his craft?
Well, he began painting when he was a child, but for him, there were two fundamental experiences that changed his life dramatically. One was when he had contact for the first time and he saw the beautiful paintings of the Renaissance, especially the paintings of Piero la Francesca. That has been his most important influence during his entire career. And you can see various of his most salient characteristics derived from that incomparable tradition of when painting achieved one of its highest level of excellence in the history of Western civilization. You can see that in the serenity of his characters, the monumentality of his figures, the exaltation of volume, the fact that every object has its own color. All that comes from that great influence. And another experience for him that was very important was the contact with Mexico. In Mexico in the 1950s, he discovered his own style, and second of all, he discovered color. The explosion of color in the work of Botero appears when he arrives in Mexico. And Mexico was also very important in his career because it underscored and it confirmed his intuition that it was valid to paint about his own subject matter, his own land, his homeland. Many artists at that time were denying their own land as valid subject matter. And on the contrary, he put his hands right into the roots of Latin America, and he has made, even if it's very local, the subject matter, the themes, it's universal in its language, no?
One of the topics his art has covered is bullfighting. What were some of the other subjects?
Latin America has been the most important subject in his work throughout his entire career. Bullfighting was also very important. The circus, he did an entire series about the circus, which is extraordinary. Europe has appeared also as a subject matter in his work during his entire career. Portraits is also as well. And a very important subject has been violence. The violence of Colombia, he did an entire series describing that period of the 1990s, which was very traumatizing for Colombia. And he did another series related to the Abu Ghraib tortures that took place in the Iraqi prison. He did an entire series as well that he donated to the University of California, Berkeley, and also here to Washington University in DC. And so those are his main subjects, but the most important one has been throughout his entire career, Latin America, for sure.
So what was it like having Fernando Botero as your father? What kind of influence did he have on you?
Well, professionally, the most important influence was his example as a disciplined artist. For me, it was very important to learn from a very young age that the artist is not somebody who's at the cafe drinking and having a good time and you know, daydreaming his life away. No, it's somebody who is very focused, very professional. My father's a very disciplined, hardworking individual. For me, that was very important to see that as a young person. More intimately or personally, to live with him is quite an experience because he's a very interesting character. When we were children, he would, since he didn't have any money, the things he would tell us, the stories he would invent were fantastic but terrifying at the same time. He would, for example, he would invite us to have dinner, and he would take a Campbell's tomato soup, and he would put the sculptures, the eyes that it was making of his sculptures at the time, and he said, "Tonight we're having eye soup. Don't eat the eyes. That gives the flavor of the soup." So it would become a magical experience. So living with him has been, quite a privilege.
And Juan Carlos, how is your father doing now? Is he still painting and sculpting?
He's great. He's nonstop working. He works 10 hours a day on his feet, which I think is incredible. It's what Picasso used to say, that when an artist enters a studio, he has to leave the body outside the door. That's what my father's case is, perfectly that. When he goes to a party, he can, after 2 hours of standing on his feet, he's exhausted, but he can enter his studio and he works 5 hours nonstop and he shows no sign of fatigue. Right now, he's once again with Latin America. He just finished a very important series of paintings, very erotic paintings, that was new in his career. But he's still with sculpture and painting, drawings. He's very accomplished in all three mediums. Most artists nowadays are either painters or sculptors or draftsmen. My father has done all the arts. He's done frescoes, he's done charcoals, he's done sanguines, ink works, oil paintings. Extraordinary. His work is truly amazing in the size, the scope.
Juan Carlos Botero, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.